Last week, the National Association of Realtors announced a settlement agreement in the Sitzer-Burnett case that would take effect in July. Now, for those who missed the declarations in the media that this outcome will render transacting real estate almost free, protect consumers, and make home ownership affordable once again, the settlement does none of that. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Eric Sztanyo from Keller Williams Realty and TeamStanyo.com. In this video, we are gonna separate fact from fiction. We are gonna go over 6 myths that are out there because there are a lot of scary headlines. And we're gonna let you know how it impacts you if you're looking to buy or sell a home. All right, here we go. Myth number 1. The settlement forces brokers to reduce their compensation. This is false. The settlement in no way establishes a standard or limitation on realtors for what they may charge, nor services they elect to deliver. Those fees have always been negotiable, and there has never been any collective bargaining. In every market, there's a wide variety of fees, just as there are levels of marketing, service, and competence. So you guys know the story here. You get what you pay for. Now, in a higher end market of real estate, say New York City, those fees might already be 2%, something like that, whereas where we're at in the Midwest, Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, they typically are 3% to the buyer's broker, 3% to the listing agent. Those fees have always been negotiable, so nothing really changes here. The settlement does not force brokers to reduce their commission. Okay, myth number 2, the settlement will for the first time allow sellers to no longer pay compensation for an agent bringing the buyer. This is also false. There's never been an obligation for a seller to pay buyer agent compensation. It's never been required, yet it is a practice that's worked well. Why? Because buyers are coming up with other costs, including down payments and closing costs. So to have them come up for the buyer broker agent commission, that's hard. And so it's made sense to keep everything moving for the seller to pay that in the past. Likely that's gonna continue to happen in the future. Now the way that happens is going to likely change, and the way it's advertised is likely going to change. So here's the actual rule that is being changed if it's implemented in July. The NAR, the National Association of Realtors, agreed to create a new MLS rule prohibiting offers of compensation on the MLS. So no longer can you say on the MLS that we're gonna pay the buyer's agent 3%, that has to go somewhere else. This would mean that offers of compensation could not be communicated via an MLS, but they can continue to be an option consumers could pursue off the MLS through negotiation and consultation with real estate professionals. So will sellers still offer compensation? Yeah, probably so, because they want the most exposure for the sale of their home. The way to get the most exposure is to offer compensation to a buyer's agent. It's just not gonna be on the MLS. All right, moving on, myth number 3. The settlement prohibits sellers from paying a commission to the buyer's agent, and it relieves sellers of the financial burden. This also is false. The mandate restricts properties with an offer of buyer agent compensation from just displaying on association-owned MLS, yet the practice can't be restricted in any other form of marketing. So sellers can still put that out there on their own broker's website or other marketing, or the buyer's agent can just call and ask. Sellers may still elect to pay buyer agent compensation to differentiate their properties. Again, we just talked about this, but why would sellers want to do that? You want to attract as many buyers as possible. 90% of buyers use a buyer's agent. Do you want to attract the 90% of buyers to come look at your house, or do you want to try to sell your house to the 10% who aren't using a buyer's agent? While sellers can elect not to pay buyer agent compensation, that doesn't mean they will avoid the economics, as buyers may write into any offer a contingency requiring the seller to cover the cost or request other concessions. So if you're a seller, and even if you're not offering any kinds of compensation, that doesn't mean you're gonna avoid it, because the buyer can still write that into the offer. And at the end of the day, you're gonna look for the best net offer. It's just that in those offers, the buyer still might be saying, hey, we want you to pay for the commission for our buyer's agent. Myth number 4, the settlement will serve to meaningfully lower prices and make home ownership affordable again. I'm sorry to tell you, but this is also false. Values in real estate are determined by supply and demand. Pretty simple, economics 101. Fees in a real estate transaction represent additional expenses, yet these include not only commissions, but many other related charges. Should real estate commissions be reduced even by 1%, so let's say you're going from 3% to 2% and you're lowering those commissions because of compression, that $500,000 house now is now gonna cost $495,000. $500,000 house, 3% is 15, divide that by 3, so you're dropping it by $5,000. Not only is the potential impact marginal at best, but do you think that the seller now believes that the home is actually worth less and will happily just give the difference to the buyer? Let me ask you, do you think your home is worth any less even if commissions change from where they are right now? No. If you want to sell your home, you know the value is the value of the house. You don't want to drop the value of the house. You want to get the most money for it. The reason home ownership is increasingly less affordable is that homes in our market have significantly risen in value the last few years. And I understand affordability is really hard and kind of at all-time levels right now. And it feels like it's pinching too hard, but that's, again, it's a supply and demand issue. It's not a commissions-based issue with the real estate agents. All right, myth number 5, the settlement is a win for buyers who will now be able to negotiate the fee for representation. This is actually questionable. For buyers who had to provide the down payment and closing expenses, having the commission paid by the seller and incorporated in the home price allowed them to finance the amount over time instead of coming up with an additional cash at closing. Let me kind of unpack that. It's maybe a myth that sellers paid this commission over the years. Really, that was worked into the home price, and the buyer was just financing that into the mortgage. Now, again, the what is staying the same. There's still a commission being paid. It's just the how and the when that's being changed. The conversation about paying the buyer's agent is now shifting to upfront. You can't even go see a house until you've signed a buyer-broker agreement with the agent. So now you know what you're gonna be paying them, whatever that percent of commission is, you know that upfront, you have a signed agreement, then you go shopping, and that agent's job is to do their best to try to get the seller to pay for their commission so you don't have to. All right, myth number 6, the settlement will result in significant restitution to consumers who were harmed over recent years in their transactions by realtors. I mean, at the end of the day, this is false as well. The settlement is huge. It's over $400 million, yet when one divides the amount by the number of potentially qualifying consumers, it works out to about $10 per person. Those who are really benefiting are the attorneys who have submitted a request to the court for over $80 million in fees. So well done, attorneys. All right, guys, I hope that helped you separate a little bit of fact from fiction with the settlement. There's still a lot to be settled on this. Judge has to approve it. We're not gonna know everything until July at the earliest. My recommendation to you is just don't freak out. I really don't think this is gonna change that much overall. Reach out to your local real estate professional if you have questions. We'd love to talk to you about this. Our team is ready to talk to you about it if you're looking to buy or sell in the Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky area. At the end of the day, a few things are changing, but the dust is gonna settle. It's not gonna be a seismic shift in the overall real estate industry. All right, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching this. Like and subscribe if you haven't already to join the Sztanyo Clanyo. Who Dey, go Reds. We'll see you in the next one. I'm out.